music or promo videos?
So there's one of two things I do. I have a couple of websites where I use royalty-free music. Some of it is absolutely terrible, so you just have to sift through. And if you go onto a royalty-free music site, I can send round some links. There's normally like a filter on the side of like how long you want your video for, because I used to like start listening to tracks and being like, oh, well, that one's 5 minutes and that one's 1 minute. So just type in the side, and you can sometimes even say like, random words like funky or, background or whatever you sort of fancy. But yeah, I also sometimes use like YouTube where people have done mixes, and I might say like dramatic sound for movie tracks, but I think picking the music is one of the hardest things actually, because it's the thing that you would start with, because sometimes you might film something, you just can't find the right track to go with it, or you upload it onto YouTube or Instagram and then it mutes your video because you don't have the rights to the music. So it can be hard, but at least if you use royalty-free music, you know that it's not going to be muted, so you can send it round quite happily. But I can send links to ones, but some of them are really cheap. You just pay per one you download, and some you can like pay per month. But my husband's a DJ, so he always uses samples and things like that. So he's sort of really good with knowing things like that. But I think that actual like track, I think I was just searching, and I was just looking at like searching circus and trying to find something that was like upbeat but still corporate and had sort of like different light and shade to it. But yeah, finding music is a difficult one. And then you might find a great track and then you're like, oh, my friends used that track, I can't use that track, because you feel awkward if someone's used it. So if you do find a great track that someone else has used, just ask them, just say, would you mind if I used it? Different skill, they might be nice, might say, no, don't, you get your own.
More than one skill?
Yes.
But not more than one video?
No, you can have more than one video. So I'm going to go on to act videos, but for you as a performer, you could have like, if you're doing like a fire performing, just a fire video, and then you could, I don't know, pole dancer, contortionist, you can have separate videos. But I'm talking about when you're first applying to an agency and you're trying to show everything you do. Because the main thing I do for abroad bookings, I get a lot of abroad bookings. I try and book performers who have more than one skill, only because I've had it many, many times where I've booked people flights and then the client's been like, oh, can we just add an acrobatic show? And I'm like, no, because you booked this fire performer who's not an acrobat. Whereas, it doesn't matter if you only have one skill and you're like amazing at it, you're going to get loads of work. But I'm just saying, if you do have other skills, then just show me straight away, or I could be like, oh, you can get a bit more for your money because maybe you could do a bit of contact juggling at the start, and then he can then do his fire show. And sometimes, especially with, I do a lot of Indian weddings and a lot of bar mitzvahs, they just want to feel like they've got as much for their money as possible. And especially if they're flying you halfway across the world, they're like, oh, I'm flying you halfway across the world to do a 4-minute fire show. I don't feel like I've got my money's worth. And whereas we know we've trained, we're good at our skill, that's what you're paying for. I always think if you can show me straight away that you've got more than one skill, then sometimes, just personally for me with Evolve, I quite like that. Yes?
In terms of basically your face, would you have an issue with like face paint, or would you really want a shot where no one has any face paint on? Or?
No, I love it. I think more is more. However, it depends what you're... Obviously, don't paint your whole face black, and we're going to see what you look like. No, not like that. That was your mind that went there. So, yeah, I think, to show that you're a circus performer, if you have circus makeup on, it looks great. But, maybe show then in the video different looks. Yeah. Because, we're all like embodying a character. And that's what I find hard when people maybe apply to my agency and they're not quite right for my agency. I don't want us to be like, oh, well, I don't work for you because you're not quite right. Because I probably might get a job that you'd be right for. However, if you presented yourself in a different way in the video, I probably could get you a lot of work. So it's difficult because you could never really give someone honest feedback. But if you created this amazing show reel and you've like gone through everything and you think, right, okay, and I've sent them a professional email and I'm still not getting booked, why? It might be something really simple. So you might want to just ask the agent why? And they might be like, oh, it's because you're wearing harem pants in every single shot. And, you know, they're great, but for my client, you know, they want to see like a waistcoat or, yeah, it's like, it's you know, but they're normally the most talented performers, but, you know, it's just a particular look that particular people want. Did anyone else have a question at the back? Sorry.
How often would you recommend people redo their appointment? So I have some photographs that were taken in 2012, and they're still very nice, shiny photographs, but I feel like they're starting to look dated.
Yeah, I would say there's no real rule for it, like every year you must have a photo shoot, but I'd say especially if they're quite a few years old, if you already are feeling that yourself, then it's probably coming across. And again, if you change your look, or if you're sending me a picture where like you're super buff and you've got a six-pack, and then you turn up and you're like, hey, that picture must have been from 1999 because you don't look like that. So just make sure you present yourself in a way that you actually look like yourself. And if you again think that they're outdated, they probably are. So just get another shoot every couple of years maybe.
How long would you want a show reel with multiple skills in it?
I love, apart from the one I just showed you because it was 3 minutes, but I love show reels to be like about a minute and a half. Because I feel like after a minute, you've seen everything. So, and then obviously it makes it easy for Instagram and social media because, you know, you can upload it. But it's completely up to you. You can make it as long as you want. And sometimes if people are interested, they will watch the whole thing. Just make sure the beginning is extremely interesting. So even if they only watch the first 30 seconds, it is really interesting and it might book you that job.
Is there like a maximum number of skills you would want people to show before it just starts feeling like it's flicking around really?
For it's too much. If you literally have like 15 skills, then probably split them up. Probably be like, this is my juggling show reel and have like fire, contact club, knife, whatever, all the juggling. But if it's so many, then maybe split them up a little bit.
Do you as an agent or your clients ever request to see the full shows? And if so, should we have like either a video of the full show or a 5 or 10 minute version of that hour-long show?
I think it's a really worthwhile thing to do. I've only had it a couple of times where people have asked to see the whole act, and it's normally for abroad jobs. But I sometimes personally want to see the whole act. That's what I used to do in photography. I used to say, like, don't book a photographer for your wedding unless you've seen a whole wedding, because they're going to luck out on 10 pictures per wedding. So it's the same as performing. You know, you could have shot that one of you juggling 15 times until you got it right. Whereas, like, if I've seen a performance on stage from start to end, I get a better idea of you. So, yeah, if you can, it's great. But just make sure it's, like, on an unbranded link, because you wouldn't want someone to, like, maybe watch your show and replicate it.
How bad is juggler dropping in that full video? Because getting the droplets wrong is so difficult.
Yeah. So for me, I actually had a job recently, and it was a really, really high-end job. It was signed all NDAs and everything. And I employed someone who's been on my website for a while, who I've never actually employed in real life. And all of the rehearsals went great. And then the show, they dropped like probably, I think it was like 5 or 6 times. And it was like a 2-minute thing. And the clubs kept going off the stage. And then they had to like go off of the stage to get them. And pretty much my client said, I'm never hiring a juggler from you again. So obviously I know that like the odd drop does happen, and sometimes it's circumstance. Like I had James Guyver and Els on a job, and they were passing juggling on a stage, and they decided to put strobe lights, smoke, and then also carry a grand piano. No, I'm not even kidding. And microphone stands through where they were performing, and then the guy that was running the event used to be a juggler. And he was like, wow, they dropped their juggling clubs. I was like, yeah, I'm surprised they didn't stop juggling altogether because of the amount of people and things you were doing through them juggling. But I don't see it as a massive problem if you drop the odd clubbing, like juggling club. But, you know, you'll get people that don't know anything about juggling. That would be like, oh, well, that's crap, you've dropped one. So maybe, like, edit it out if you can. Yes?
So we've been speaking to, obviously there's been a couple of agents and things coming and talking to us, so we've been speaking a lot about like how people prefer to be contacted, different agencies have different things. How
how do you prefer to be contacted by people? Like what's
So that's actually my next talk about agents. But I would say for me it's email. So I really can't stand a performer ringing me more than once and telling me on the phone how great they are, because I've just got lots to do, and you know I can't also then share it with my team because I'm on the phone. So for me, just send a short professional email with your photographs, your CV, and your showreel link, and just be friendly but polite and to the point. Don't write me an essay. Don't make it too elaborate, like a flash presentation of a GIF man that comes out.
You don't want my 15 minutes PowerPoint?
No. Just like short and sweet, and an email for me.
So I've got different personalities. I do both kids entertainment, adult entertainment, and very adult entertainment.
Very adult. So referring to your side hustle there.
Yeah, we've got way less stuff and headlights and that sort of stuff. And I've lost work through corporate clients finding out that I do that, even though they are looking for close-up magic. So if I'm approaching an agent who I know, probably won't want to book me for that, should I just keep shush, or should I be telling you, by the way, I also get naked sometimes instead?
I don't know if I've ever come across that before. I suppose it's your prerogative if you say. I think it's a bit different, like working with kids. Is that like telling me to stop talking, or it's like a timer? No. I don't know if you work with kids and then do that. I don't know what the rules are there, but I don't know. Maybe like unless they ask you, don't say. I'm sorry, I don't really know about that one. I don't think I've come across that before.
Pretend I didn't say anything to you just now when I applied to work.
Okay. Right, so low budget showreels. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Quick question. The more than one skill, if you have one but it's not, if you're training in something,
Yeah.
would you still include that in it, even if it's not high level, but it's like intermediate?
I think I would. Like, I got flown to the Bahamas to do poi, and I am terrible at poi, right? I got flown to Geneva to do poi as well. I've got flown to, where was it? Somewhere to do roller skating, and I'm not a roller skater, but it was in someone else's showreel, and they were like, oh, that's Gemma. I'm like, I'll get her to do that. And I was actually practicing poi on the beach just because I enjoy doing it. And then I was actually there event managing in the Bahamas, and the woman flew me back 2 weeks later, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should do a video. And then I got a few jobs off of it. But I think because I know so many talented poi artists, I don't put myself out as a poi artist. But then sometimes when I watch shows, I'm like, well, I can do all those moves. They're just all in sync, and they all just look very like, they've just rehearsed. So if I ever put myself out doing that, we just rehearse and make sure everything's in time. So I would say always include it. But if you think it will bring your video down, like the quality, maybe just put it after your main skill, or just don't make it a focus.
With the GoPros, they have the wide-angle lenses. How do you feel about having different styles? The iPhone style.
Edited together. That's fine. Like, especially if it's like your first showreel, then mixing all those styles is fine. Obviously, if you just have footage from a GoPro, sometimes it's a bit far away and you can't really see your skill. So then make sure that you might film yourself just in your garden or something, but if it's nighttime, you can't see the background, and you doing close-up stuff, you never know where you are. You could be at a fire job.
I know some really good video editors. My instinct is just to keep things to like cuts and a few fades and stuff, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because I feel like things get outdated over time, but
yeah, if you got like weird transitions and
if it's crazy,
flips
it's really,
and
really like top end good, then how long before that becomes outdated? Will it actually upsell the act? Will it just work against it?
I tend to find it works against it.
Yeah.
Like I just, it's a video that I'm going to show in my next talk, but I just got an edit from an amazing video editor who I absolutely respect, and he just does cuts.
Yeah.
Cut. But just knowing when to like build the suspense and like hearing what's in the music and echoing the visuals. So, in the showreel it went woo and the person did a flip, just like sort of trying to time the music and not use too many elaborate transitions because it sometimes distracts from the content.
Do you have any issues with the like promotional videos and with like act videos and with using other people's music when they have to use music that is meant to have royalties?
So as in, like, if you sent me a video...
Like, do you use it on your websites or anything? And if so, do you have any issues, like, displaying it on your website when it has music by a specific artist that isn't royalty-free?
So my website links it direct through my YouTube. So it comes up as an actual thing to play, but it's through YouTube. So as long as it's allowed on YouTube. But I had a video on YouTube for 4 years, and then YouTube emailed me, like, 6 months ago saying it's muted in Germany.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I've had issues with it being...
So it's just confusing, but...
I've had issues with it being available on desktop only.
Right.
So like it won't, like, because it was like, cause basically like when, yeah, if it is someone else's thing, it sends them an email and says like what do you want to do, and they've said so they can play it on desktop only, but you can't play it on phones or anything like that.
Oh really? Okay.
Have you ever had anything like that? 'Cause I know one that's like that.
I don't know. I suppose just whoever you send it to, just make sure it can be viewed on all platforms. And I quite often, I do this a lot, is someone sends me their show reel and I just think, oh my God, this guy's brilliant, but the music is terrible. I'll re-edit it because it will take me 30 seconds. Or, you know, I'm pitching for a James Bond event and they want a juggler. No juggler has a James Bond event. I'll literally whack a James Bond track over your show reel. Yes. As long as your costume like doesn't look like, you know, you're a clown, if you're wearing like a smart black outfit. So yeah, I would say just I haven't really come across that, but maybe just double, triple check. And also a good top tip, if you are using just a random track, you can add reverb on the beginning, which is like an echo, and it will like confuse the bots of like Facebook and YouTube, and it thinks it's an original track, and it's not. Or you can just
change the speed ever so slightly. That's
just the first bit, or use instrumentals. Like a lot of the time, it doesn't pick up instrumental. But yeah, that's always good.
I've got my questions left in my brain because I was writing about using instrumentals.
Come back to
So you said that you don't quite like sending out videographers from your own company. How do you feel as an agent if people say, I got this booking via you, do you mind if I bring a videographer to capture that?
So I don't mind, it's just that I have to check with my client. So all of my contracts say we have the right to film and promote all of the acts that are at your, and most people just sign it and they don't read it. But I do get people every now and again saying, oh no, I don't want you to film. As long as you just tell me, because if you turn up to a gig and you've got like a full camera crew and you haven't told me, or you bring in like your friend who's really scruffy and who's got a camera, just ring me and ask me and I'll just be honest. Normally it's absolutely fine because it doesn't, as long as it's not, they're not going to be like going across the stage and like interrupting, then it's absolutely fine.
Would you rather have a bad website or no website?
No website.
Bad show reel or no show reel?
God. I suppose the show reel, you have to have something. Websites, I don't think are hugely important if you're a performer, but if you're wanting to develop like a number of acts and maybe you're a very busy performer and you're out all the time and you can just send someone to your website and maybe there's a password they type in and it comes up with your downloadable Dropboxes, it saves you time having to keep going back to your computer and send stuff. But if you're first starting out, put your money into a show reel. That's what I'd say. Do you remember your question?
Yes. So you're saying that sometimes you edit people's show reels if they're really, really rubbish. So if I'm sending you stuff, would you rather I send the original file than a YouTube link?
You could just ask for my advice. You could send the video and say, is this all right? Or, you know, would you change it? If you need the original files, I have them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, yeah. But most of the time, I'll just literally take your video and I'll normally chop it in half, put a different track on it. And I do it all the time.
If you've got lots of different costumes, how important is it to have professional photos of each costume that you have?
It's not super important, I suppose, because if you've got loads and you think, oh my goodness, this is going to take ages. But if you've got like a mannequin, you can always just spend a day putting them on the mannequin or on yourself and like self-timing and taking pictures. Because a lot of the time the agent won't send that to the client they just know that you've got that. But as long as you've got like a good solid like 3, I'd say, in your video, yeah, that's good.
My question kind of relates to that one quite well. It was about like act videos, and because for a skill like contact juggling, if I've got 4 different relatively high quality contact juggling costumes, would you want an act video for each of those, or is a video with just my skill and then photos of the costumes?
An act video for each of them, if I'm honest, because most of the time I get an inquiry, hi, I'm doing a Winter Wonderland job, like the party, this is what I want, and one of your costumes is like an ice costume. It just confused them. Like, it's literally like they have no imagination or intelligence that, you know, you don't have to change costume mid-act, like you just have to wear one. So if you sent me a video where you're wearing multiple costumes and I wanted to, I'd probably just pick out those clips and put them together.
So actually have like a minute and a half maybe with all, that's just contact juggling, with all the costumes, and then you can just pick out the 25 seconds.
You can, but lots of agents don't know how to video edit, or they don't have time. So have, if you can, have separate, and then put the relevant track to each one. I like your shirt, by the way. You, yeah.
I do hats, and I found that it doesn't really slot into quite a lot of themes particularly well.
You juggle hats, did you say?
I was wondering if you had any suggestions of themes that you get quite a lot that it would fit into?
1920s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you know Florin, who does the champagne juggling act?
Oh, Florian Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love him just because I just think his act is very sophisticated and suave.
I've seen Suitable, I haven't seen the champagne one.
Yeah, I'd suppose you would just look maybe back in history at all the different hats and then just theme acts around different hats. So you call it like, you know, gentleman juggling act and have like a top hat. They could be great for weddings.
1920s in general.
Yeah, you could literally, I suppose you could fit that into anything, but because it's quite a niche thing, and most like, you know, regular people are like, juggler, just juggle clubs, and they don't juggle anything else. If you do juggle clubs as well, let them know, because then, you know, they might actually book you and then do that as a side extra thing.
Yes. Is it problematic to have lots of like people, or like, because if your footage is filmed at different events you performed at, is it problematic to have like lots of people in the background, or like brands for the companies you performed with?
No, I'd say that the only show reels I sort of hate watching with lots of people is like a dance that's come from a cruise ship, and they're like circling themselves like, I'm dancer on the left and dancer on the right, and it's like 15 dancers, and it's, you know, it's quite hard. But I think you mean like just general people. It's absolutely fine, especially like if they're good brands. So you'd be like, oh, they worked for Red Bull or Virgin, or, you know. So I don't think that's a problem. As long as you can see what you look like in the first couple of seconds, and you've got a couple of close-up shots, then yeah, whack them in.
I went to film a juggling skill demo reel kind of thing. And I accidentally wore a massive band's logo on my t-shirt. Is that actually a problem?
Yeah, for my company, yeah, just wear a white shirt or just wear a plain top. Yeah, you just have to, you know, you don't always have to like be completely plain. You can obviously be crazy jazzy if that's like what your act is, but I just say that like if you want to appeal to the mass market and if you haven't got loads of money to be creating loads of different show reels and you just want to create one really good one, then just wear something that you know fits into lots of different themes. You know, like you can still wear like red trousers and a red shirt with a black waistcoat and a hat and some makeup. So it's like circus, but it's still sophisticated. It's not, you know, too cheesy or tacky.
How important is it to include stilt walking, which I do, but I don't consider one of the main things I do in my general promo?
Well, I wouldn't say like for me, as I do stilt walking, you need a video of you stilt walking.
Yeah.
It's more you could just tell the person.
That's what
Yeah, but if you feel like, oh, that might get me.
If I had a great costume or something, I might, but I don't.
Yeah, you could always put like a little clip in, but I wouldn't do it as your main focus. Like I still sell stilt walkers every week, and I don't even think I have a video of stilt walkers because it's just you can either do it or you can't. Yeah. Yeah. I do also, though, as an agent, I do want to see multiple photos of you on stilts because, you know, you might say you're a stilt walker and you'd be absolutely terrible when you turn up. So as an agent, I asked for that, but I don't think clients normally want that.
If you don't have a wide variety of costumes, can you do, say, just like a black waistcoat provided you're smart and just do it like a job themed app?
Yeah. Just a skill-based video. Yeah.
That's not an issue in any way.
No. I'd say normally for my website, if, you know, for me, if you're a new performer and you've got great promo footage and I've got you on my website, that's just the way you're going to get gigs. And if you start not getting gigs and you ask me, I can be honest with you. Sometimes it's pricing. Sometimes it's you take ages to get back to me. Because even if someone is having an event in 2020, they somehow need it by 3 p.m. and they've contacted you at 12. That's just like the way the events world works. Everything's really fast. So if you can make your life easy by having everything on your phone or having a draft template email, you say, thanks for your inquiry, I'd love to do it, this is my fee, and then just have a gap, here's my show reel, la 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 la, and you've got it as a template, you just copy and paste it and just change the fee. And also just make sure if anyone's asked you, you reply with what they've asked you. So
create a 4-minute super generic fire performance without much theme and it would be fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like you don't have to make it super generic. I just mean as in research the agency you're applying to. You know, some agencies love you having tons of personality and weird clothes. But if I'm sending your promo straight to a client, it's probably just best that it like appeals to the mass market. And it's just like a blanket promo. So that's fine, I'm finished. I got you. I thought that wasn't going to last that long. Oh, sorry. But yeah, any last questions before I finish this one?
It's kind of about, if you've not got tons and tons of experience and you kind of want to go for maybe like less high-end agencies first, but you were saying about like pricing, obviously to get more experience you might have to price yourself lower, but then agents don't like it if you give different prices to different agents, I'm guessing, because then how would you like advise someone to sort of deal with that, to make their step up without looking like they're being...
I'll cover that more in my next talk. However, it is a difficult thing. You know, no one can, sometimes you'll send a price and they go, yeah, great. And you're like, oh crap, I probably should have put more. And then again, like if I'm a high-end corporate agent and I know that you're working down the road for 100 quid, why am I going to pay you 500 quid? Because, you know, it's such a big difference. So as long as it's not a huge difference, I think it's fine. And just be honest, just say I'd ideally like 300 for this gig, but let me know if other people have beat me on my price and I might be happy to negotiate. And then I might come back and say, well, they've gone for another person that's 50 quid cheaper, do you want to drop your price? It's up to you.